All right, we are back. Welcome to the Legacy Tour Huntsville. We are headed into round 5, where we will feature James Hess playing Elves against James Mabry playing Storm. Now, this is the ad nauseum version of Storm, and James is actually on a more anti-combo version of Elves. It eschews the natural orders in order to play cards like crop rotation and Gaddock Teague and some of those kind of things that are a little more disruptive to combo decks.
Oh, well, so things aren't as hopeless as they would typically be.
No, normally, yeah, this would normally be a really rough matchup, but James has a slightly better board plan, or main deck plan, and then some more stuff in the sideboard against a deck like Storm.
Yeah, well, he sees a windswept heath though. He's got to think something's a little bit up. That's atypical to see on Elves.
Well, they all have forest fetch lands though, because they have a lot of them
because of the
bio.
harbor.
Yes, and just because they never really want to have more than like two or three lands anyway.
Okay.
So like they're not trying to draw a bunch of basic. Yeah, actually I think most Elves decks just run a basic forest. I'm sorry, two basic forests.
Okay, so no one's running like a swamp or anything like that, so it wouldn't be like Verdant.
No, they just have bayous. Yeah, because they need all of their lands to tap for green, since like every spell is green.
Okay, so things aren't as suspicious as I once thought.
So James opened on a very disruptive hand, and it looks like he's got another Cabal Therapy. So James Mabry was doing all this, and it looks like James Hess is down to just two more, a Pendlehaven, another fetch land, and I missed the last card. I think it was a crop rotation. Yeah, so really he has nothing going on now. Although the Storm player missed his second land drop, so his hand may not be efficient enough to finish going off. But he has bought himself a lot of time probably with all that hand disruption.
Yeah, and especially I want to say I think Storm is favored here. Usually they're faster than Elves, and typically Elves, cannot disrupt them. So
not game one.
Yeah, and then we're not seeing so I guess a lot of the anti-combo you were talking about that's in the sideboard.
Actually the Gaddock Teague is main deck.
Oh wow.
And as you can see, James has a Cavern of Souls in his hand. That's also this. I think this version of the deck is designed to just be better against the like a European metagame.
Okay. What about cards like Green Sun? I mean, doesn't your Gaddock turn those off?
Yeah, but in matchups where that is going to be a problem, the Gaddock Teague is so strong at beating, like against Storm.
That's true.
Storm can't win.
It hurts them more than it hurts you.
Right, with a Gaddock Teague out, so like you can Green Suns for Gaddock Teague, and that'll until they answer it, they can't win. So that's fine.
And maybe it's that bit of tech that made Gaddock Teague's price just fly up. It's ridiculous lately. Someone bought out a lot of the Gaddocks.
Yeah, I suspect that has more to do with modern, probably.
Yeah,
but nonetheless,
someone knows something we don't.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that is. So it looks like he was pumping the Dryad.
Yeah, he's been pumping Dryad Arbor every turn.
With the Pendlehaven.
It's the From the Vault Findhorn Elves, I think. Or Llanowar, I'm not sure. I think that's Findhorn Elves, the one from Ice Age.
Oh, okay.
It does the same thing as Llanowar Elves, though. Just has a different name so it doesn't get hit by Cabal Therapy.
Wonder how many Llanowars we've had at this point.
Actual, like, functional reprints?
Yeah.
As far as I know, there's only the two, just Llanowar and Findhorn, but there's a lot of other ones that do things that are similar.
What about the Elvish, not Elvish Mystic, or is it Elvish Mystic?
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about that one. That was the one to replace Llanowar because it doesn't use the plural of elf.
Yes.
It was one of the updates to make the naming conventions less confusing.
Uh-oh. We're seeing a few different things kind of going on here. Usually, you don't see Storm start playing out spells and like that unless they got something going on.
Right. Yeah. This signifies the I'm going off, and it might just be the end of the game here. James is all the way down to what, 9 life or
9
7?
life, yeah.
Yeah. Here it comes.
The Dark Ritual.
This tells us he probably has the Infernal Tutor in hand, or a Dark Petition, one of the two.
Yep, it's got another Dark Ritual.
Cabal
Oh,
puts him
sorry.
to 6.
Cabal. I'm sorry.
That Cabal puts
Ritual.
him to, it's +3, so up to 10. Or I mean up to 9. Or I thought it was up to 9.
There it is.
Yeah, so if he sacks this for, well, he's got enough mana now that he can either do it for red or just go straight for the like tutor into a tutor for the kill. Like if he gets another another tutor, or actually, oh no, I see the storm's at 9 now. Yeah, that's just straight lethal. So James Mabry makes that match look pretty easy, and that's the game.
Yep.
So James Mabry is up 1-0. All right, so we'll take a second to talk about JC's House of Cards, the sponsor and host of the Legacy Tour Huntsville this time around. It's conveniently the host of the next Legacy Tour Huntsville as well. But they're located out in Madison, Alabama. JC, or Jeff, the owner, has a great storefront with everything you could ask for Magic in general, and especially if you're a Legacy player, he is really stocked on Legacy singles almost all the time. I know a lot of the players at the tour were really excited about all the singles he carries.
Oh yeah. I mean, and then what was the final prize actually? I came out of the store this time.
It was just store credit.
But... Oh, it was the store credit. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Well,
so, anyway,
sideboard.
Yeah, let's take a look at the sideboards. Hess has, like, this is more of that sort of bizarre variation. He's got Surgical Extraction. I think that's good. Thoughtseize, also good. Any sort of hand disruption is usually solid against Storm, which leads me to believe that all 4 of the Cabal therapies will also come in. And Null Rod. Null Rod shuts down the mana abilities on Lotus Petal and Lion's Eye Diamond. And if occasionally there have been versions of Storm that run things like Sensei's Divining Top, it would also sort of get that as a side effect. The rest of the sideboard, the Karakas, Malira, Abrupt Decays, I don't think this is the matchup for that. And out of James Mabry's sideboard, a lot of this stuff is for other matchups. Normally, this is a good matchup for Storms. There's not a whole lot of need to sideboard against them. I think you could argue that the Chain of Vapors are good, especially if James is going to have some sort of hate card like a Null Rod, or in this case Gaddock Teague. And because you can typically anticipate hand disruption out of Elves post board, the one of Ignorant Bliss is kind of a neat one that he could definitely justify bringing in here. Otherwise, I don't see much need for any of these cards. Massacre is much better against Death and Taxes, and it also sort of gets hit. It's a side effect casualty of Gaddock Teague, which is going to be James' primary disruption piece. So, yeah, it won't really do much work in this matchup, I don't think.
Yeah, I think game 2 is going to cause a lot more of James playing differently, more than James Hess playing differently rather than Andrew playing different, or sorry,
Than James Mabry.
Than James Mabry. I'm sorry. James Mabry, it's just sort of his deck does what it does, and he's just going to be aiming for that. James Hess is going to want to aggressively mulligan to his combo hate pieces, probably. I mean, in other words, he's not going to want something just like straight proactive, because he can't race James really.
Well, I mean, an ideal Elves hand can actually kill on turn 2. Now, it takes a perfect storm, although it's a perfect Elves storm, to get there. But it actually can happen. They're able to generate enough mana between Heritage Druid and Nettle Sentinels that they can actually hard cast or Green Sun for a Craterhoof Behemoth on turn 2. But I think that would be less likely,
ambitious,
especially post board, when you have to cut some of the combo pieces to bring in all the Thoughtseize and Cabal Therapy and that type of disruption. So yeah, I agree. He should be looking for a more disruptive hand via mulligans if necessary, or at least something that has Green Sun Zenith to go find them. Cards like Gaddock Teague. Yeah,
and not to say that he should go fully on tilt. I usually whenever I'm on the other side of the table against Storm, I get nervous. Like offhand, I'm like, what if they storm off on the first or second turn? And I think that ultimately you just got to tell yourself, don't think that way.
Yeah, I mean, Storm can go off turn 1, although it's pretty rare. And turn 2, if you have absolutely no interaction and they're fairly confident, then like against a deck like Elves where they know you won't have counter spells. If you have it, you can go for it. But even then, it's hard to get that hand right off the opening 7 or the opening plus a draw. You really need to do some crafting usually between brainstorms and ponders to get it fully set up. So
as far as the discard spells go, what do you think you look for in
from James's side, like what is he trying to get?
Yeah, what are you trying to get out of James Mabry's hand?
The primary thing is the tutors.
The tutors?
Yeah. Because without those, they rarely can actually go off, and they can have all the cantrips they want. You just don't want them to have an Infernal Tutor. Although, with a card like Cabal Therapy, you should really just go for whatever gets the most volume. Like, if they happen to have 2 LEDs, you're definitely taking that over an Infernal Tutor.
Yeah.
Or if they have a pair of anything, really, pair of Brainstorms, pair of Lotus Petals, you just want to, because Storm is sort of a volume of cards deck. You have to have like a critical mass of things to go off, of spells, and taking that away is usually the best way to interact with them.
So we see here that James has got, looks like an Ad Nauseam and a Tendrils in hand.
Yeah, that's definitely not the cards you want in your opener.
Yeah.
I mean, if he has things like Brainstorm and Lion's Eye Diamond, he can make use of them still, but it's not ideal to have them in your opener, that's for sure.
So starting off on the I'm trying to think of his name, the 2/2
Nettle Sentinel.
Nettle Sentinel, thank you.
Yeah, this is one of the less exciting openers for Elves. They would prefer to lead out in this matchup. You'd almost certainly prefer to lead off on Deathrite Shaman.
Oh yeah,
it interacts most profitably with the Storm's Graveyard, which is, especially against Ad Nauseam Storm like this, they're usually much more graveyard reliant.
So we see James just start with a Ponder, which is a lot not as good as Brainstorm would be, but
well, in this situation, I'd rather have a Ponder. Just because you don't have a fetch land to go with it right now.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't see they didn't have a fetch.
And given that he had to shuffle, I get the impression none of those cards were what he wanted. No, I think James has kept a weak hand with both of the payoff cards already in it, the Ad Nauseam and the Tendrils of Agony, and he's hoping these cantrips will fix the other deficiencies, but it doesn't look to me like that is the case.
Yeah. It also looks like one of them here is the Gitaxian Probe, which you usually need to storm off. So
well, or at least to fight disruption.
Yeah, but you'll dig if you need to, I'm sure, with it.
There's the
Gaddock.
Yeah, see, now that puts a major crimp on Mabry's hand, because one of the ways he sort of makes this hand relevant is getting enough rituals to get up to a hard cast Ad Nauseam, and then going from there. And with Gaddock Teague, that's turned off, and so is the potential for a natural storm kill with the Tendrils. Gitaxian Probe, though, will reveal what's left, and it's not much.
Yeah.
Got a Glimpse of Nature, a Green Sun Zenith, and a pair of lands, which James doesn't appear to really need right now. I guess one extra land could get him the start of a what you call it, the Elvish Visionary, like a combo-ish hand.
Let's see what Mabry can do here to put this back together.
Now this is the card you want, Brainstorm, because now he can get rid of the Ad Nauseam and the Tendrils of Agony, and hopefully dig for something like a Chain of Vapor to get rid of the Gaddock Teague, at least temporarily. Usually you'll see him do that on the end step, but maybe it's possible to just do it right now.
So he does have the Tutor in hand. So if he can, get rid of that Gaddock Teague, things can start looking pretty good here for Mabry.
Just another Ponder. Still digging for some missing. That's a Empty the Warrens.
Looks like
and a Lotus Petal,
Lotus Thorn, and a fetch. I think he's gonna go with the fetch.
Yeah. So this is setting up for next turn.
I didn't see what he left to draw next turn though.
Lotus Petal.
Lotus Petal. Okay, that seems correct.
Yeah, although, like I said, he still has to find one of the cards to get rid of Gaddock Teague, because until he does that, he can't actually finish the combo kill.
So On the Empty the Warrens, what's the cost on it?
For red and 3.
Oh, so
Now
that's
there's
shut
an
off
answer
as well.
card. James has found an abrupt decay, which combined with a bayou, which he can fetch, or a tropical highland perhaps, just a green source in general. He can deal with the Gaddock Teague, and then depending on what the remaining contents of his hand are, he might be able to successfully go off after that. Although at this point, his going off, he's going to be reliant on Past in Flames, I would think, because his life total is getting dangerously low to try and go off via ad nauseum.
Yeah, and then also, James also, when losing his Gaddock Teague, will also turn on his own Green Sun Zenith.
That's right.
Which he knows he has in hand.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I said earlier that James could use the Green Sun Zenith, not realizing that he can't cast X spells.
Yep.
So, excuse me, listeners. I am not a Storm player, and I'm not particularly good at it. All right, so here's a Deathrite Shaman. So that's the kind of creature James really wants to continue to fight the graveyard battle.
And there James goes Gaddock Teague.
Yep. So now, James Hess knows, I guess, that that the potential for him to die next turn exists. I don't know if he has any other sideboard cards that he can use with his Green Sun Zenith to fight that. Maybe it's just do what you can with what you have, and that'll have to be good enough. And sometimes Storm can't assemble that critical mass, no matter how many cantrips they cast.
I mean, we know he has a Lotus Petal right now, Gitaxian Probe.
I saw an LED, I think, too.
Is there an LED?
Man, he's got to be close.
Yeah, he does have to be close. But I don't know if he's got any, mana spells. Did he have a Dark Ritual? I think I saw one earlier.
I'm not sure.
So, and like you said, he's dangerously low right now.
So here we have 3 mana for a Green Sun Zenith for 2.
I was actually surprised not to see the Dryad Arbor come across.
He might be holding it up for green mana. Actually, yes, he's holding it up for green mana. Conveniently enough, he has a Scavenging Ooze, which is another really good anti-graveyard piece. So that will allow him to, as long as James only has one tutor effect and can't assemble a critical number of spells, like a full 10 storm count, the Scavenging Ooze is insurance against the flashback Past in Flames kill.
Okay.
Because a lot of times they have to use the the Infernal Tutor to get Past in Flames, and then flashback Past in Flames as part of the finale. And while it's in your graveyard, you can then exile it with the Scavenging Ooze and prevent them from casting it again.
Yeah, so we don't have any creatures in the yard either, I don't believe.
Well, there's the tutor. There should be a Gaddock Teague, since it was
that's true.
earlier.
So yeah, and also gaining the 2 life is pretty good. That makes it that much harder to, that storm count has to be higher on that tendrils.
Right. Yep. So James is casting an Infernal Tutor without an empty hand, which, if you're not Hellbent, it requires you to reveal a card from your hand upon resolution, and then you can search your library for a copy of it. So he's opting to get a second Lion's Eye Diamond. This now puts the tutor in his graveyard, however, so he will have to...
Okay, we're up to 5 now.
He'll have to find a second one.
Oh, 6.
All right, so we have a lot of mana. Not sure what James's plan is here.
And he got rid of the tendrils. Oh, no, he had the tendrils.
Okay, so this is a non-lethal tendrils. I'm not...
Let's see. He's at 7. Yeah, I don't...
Oh, so the issue here is with Tendrils of Agony in hand, it's impossible to tutor for the tendrils. So he can't cast all these spells, then cast Infernal Tutor, hold priority, and break his diamonds, because he'll put the tendrils in his graveyard. He won't be able to find one in his library to cast. And if he goes to get Past in Flames, like we discussed earlier, James could exile the tendrils from his graveyard.
I see.
Now, that said, James would have still been able to go for an Empty the Warrens. I assume he did the math, and it's not lethal to make that many tokens, but it sure feels like that would have been enough. I'm not sure. So James exiles his own Gaddock Teeg in response to the tendrils. Not sure how much damage that was for. Looks like it was 16-point tendrils. So James is at 4, and James Hess is at 4, and James Mabry goes back up to 24. Unfortunately, James Mabry's hand is empty now, and he's staring down a Scavenging Ooze with, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6, 7, maybe 7 mana. Like, he'll never have a graveyard again.
Well, how many tendrils does Storm run?
Well, normally just the one, although I haven't checked the deck list. It's possible James has a second, or maybe he could have brought one in from the sideboard. Sometimes there are versions of Storm, although Ad Nauseam isn't usually one of them, that has a second Tendrils of Agony. It's in the sideboard, or a second one main deck. Those are usually a more long game, kind of grindier version of the deck.
Yeah,
it looks like James does not. So his only out now is to naturally storm another storm spell like Empty the Warrens, and hope to be able to attack for the remaining 4 points. I think that's a pretty weak proposition, but
well, I mean, maybe not. I mean, he can Gitaxian Probe, dig for a piece. He can find a tutor, so it's not like he's just digging for 1 or 2. Even though it is difficult, but maybe he kind of felt like this bought him some time.
Sure,
he would have lost the next turn anyway if he didn't storm, because he needed the live. So, I mean, maybe he felt like this was the only way he was going to win.
Yeah, and Hess is able to put enough pressure on to take the Storm player down in just a 3 turns worth of attacks. So there you have it. The James Hess ties the match up at 1 apiece. So if you're interested in the Legacy Tour Huntsville, the next one is March 26th. It's only a month away, or a little less than a month away now.
Yeah.
It'll like I mentioned earlier, it will once again be at JC's House of Cards. Jeff has graciously decided to host yet again, and it's worth noting now that the entry fee has increased to $20. So the prizes will go up, although the entry fee has to go with it. And the number of proxies or playtest cards has been decreased from 6 down to 4. So you only get a playset now. So hurry up and finish those legacy decks. Find those last couple Force of Wills or Dual Lands or whatever it is you're missing. But yeah, March 26th at JC's House of Cards will be the next Legacy Tour Huntsville. Maybe someone can stop James Hess from
from winning,
from taking all the prizes.
Yeah, I wonder how far are we going to go down on proxies before it's finally eliminated completely.
I envision maybe one more after this, and then there should have been enough time and incentive. At least I hope for people to want to finish their decks out. And
you gonna take it down to 4 again? You think?
Yeah, probably leave it at 4. I'm not can't be certain, but I'm really pleased with how well the local community especially has responded to the tour, and their willingness to buy into their decks and finish things up and really make Legacy a healthy scene in the Huntsville area.
Yeah.
And actually, it's worth noting too that now that we have a lot of traveling competitors, people coming from Atlanta and Memphis and Chattanooga and some of the surrounding southeast cities, that as it grows, that those people would be probably more interested in a non playtest card, non proxy tournament as well, something sanctioned and with some real nice prizes. So.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think that and I think that everyone kind of wants us to work that way. And,
sure.
So, I mean, I'll say too, we got Eternal Masters coming up. Some of the stuff that was more restrictive, like Force of Wills and Wastelands, and I don't know if Caracas is going to.
Well, they've only spoiled 2 cards so far, but that's an interesting point you bring up, Lane. What what kind of cards do you expect to see? Obviously, we've got the two flagships that were spoiled on WotC's main website. But what other cards would you like to see, or do you expect to see in the Eternal Masters draft set?
Well, I do think that it's going to wind up being more jank, more jank to good cards. So
Do you think so? It'll follow the Modern Masters 2, sort of the not overprinting or overexposing the number of like high dollar chase rares and mythics.
Yes, I also think we'll see new printings of cards. Like I think certain cards like Counterbalance, I think we could actually see it be reprinted since it's not really heavily played in Modern. It doesn't really make a lot of sense there.
Right. No. Yeah. I mean, there are certainly some legacy and even vintage staples that could make their way in that wouldn't necessarily affect legacy directly. Because WotC has maintained that this draft format will be for all of the Eternal formats, not just Legacy exclusively. But
yeah, and it could be fun. I think we may see Brainstorm come back.
Sure. Oh yeah. I think the commons and uncommons will have plenty of staples to help Legacy and vintage and even Commander players fill out some of those less common or less easy to acquire ones. Like another big one I expect to see is Swords to Plowshares. I realize it's been printed a lot, but players love foil versions of those, and currently the foil versions are kind of difficult to get because you really only have what was it, Conspiracy, and there was a player reward or maybe a judge foil. I'm not sure which it was, but version of it. But that's it. And just more access to that would really appeal to the Legacy crowd, and I think they'd appreciate that. I would appreciate it.
I want to see some. I think Sensei's Divining Top probably. I think they want some more of those out in circulation.
Could be. Top is not extremely overpriced right now, but it is getting up there, and
Commander players love it.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest draw is that Commander players, I know they like having them, and the almost $30 price tag on an almost mandatory card for Commander decks, at least competitive ones, is a little stiff sometimes.
Yeah, I want to draft up a bad Miracles deck, with Senseis and Counterbalance.
I guess that would be another thing.
And Brainstorm,
You could have some of the Miracle cards, or one I'd really like to see, and I actually really anticipate will be in it is Rishadenport.
Oh yeah,
I think Rishadenport is in real world or in paper Magic, it's somewhat pricey, not overly expensive, but it is a slight barrier to entry into some of Legacy's decks. And from what I've heard on Moto, Rishadenport is ridiculously expensive. I think it was only printed in one set. It was
more expensive than Mox's, I think. So.
Right, yeah, it's one of the most expensive cards online from what I hear, and I can't imagine them skipping an opportunity. Wizards of the Coast skipping an opportunity to make more of them available online, if nothing else. So also, they could use that sweet new art from the Judge promo version.
I do like that art.
Yeah,
even though you won't, because you like the classic art.
I actually, it's not the art that I'm such a picky person about. I really like the old borders, and the old Rishadenports actually have the old borders, so I'm a little whatever you want to call it.
Snobby,
yeah, that is a good word.
Well, I didn't actually see what he Cabal therapied earlier, and I can't really see it because of the
there's a lot of glare.
Is that I can't actually even tell. It looks like something that's a DCI. I think I see a DCI logo on it, so I think that might actually be a Scavenging Ooze.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure. Although it looks like James has got the... there it is. He's got the Ad Nauseam on turn 2. So,
oh, wow.
So with a Lotus Petal backup to produce mana, although he has no mana now, but he can kickstart it with that Lotus Petal, there's a very high possibility that this just results in a win. James Hess has no protection right now. He only had one turn, and Mabry is at a fairly high starting life total. 17 is a lot of life to work with. So let's see what we get. An island.
Oh, well.
Empty the Warrens puts him to 13, so that's not the ideal card to see.
He did bring in the Massacre.
Speaking of non-ideal cards, there's a Massacre. And the Tendrils, my goodness. So that's 12, 4,
how many
8,
more?
12.
All right.
13, 14 life. James falls all the way to 3. My goodness, he should
Oh my god!
And that's a 3-mana spell. So
Did he kill himself?
James
oh my
Mabry
goodness!
ad nauseums to death in a strange twist of events.
He had 3 4-cost spells,
Yeah,
and then the
and a
Grunchy.
3. Yeah, James Mabry kills himself accidentally with his ad nauseum, and James Hess lucks his way into a 2-1 victory over Storm. You don't see
wow.
them happen like that very often.
No.
Oy. Well, there you have it, folks. Round 5 ends in sort of a slump as James Mabry kills himself in ad nauseum, and James Hess takes the round 2-1.